So right now it is January 21st at 7:45 p.m. just about a week away from Legends Arceus release. The reason why I'm writing the script a week in advance of the game's release is to accurately jot down my thoughts on the game before getting the chance to actually play it myself. And so far it does not look good. In case my thoughts stay the same after playing the game, I'll briefly go over my problems with it, and then I will give more detail on them later on in the review. Number 1. Underwhelming graphics with the character models looking jaggy and unfinished, and the textures that look like that they were ripped straight from a PlayStation 2 game. By comparison, GTA San Andreas came out in fucking 2004, and it somehow looks better than Legends Arceus, an 18-year-old game that you can get on Steam for $10 before Rockstar delisted it like the dicks they are, looks better than a full-price AAA game released in 2022. Sure, the character models in San Andreas show their age, but the lighting and textures look significantly better than how they do in Legends Arceus. Number 2, even though the gameplay and combat has a whole bunch of new bells and whistles to it, it still looks like the same Pokemon turn-based gameplay we're all accustomed to. I don't really think Game Freak was really competent on how well to balance the frenetic, fast-paced combat of a typical modern action RPG with the much slower strategy-based turn-based RPG gameplay. And finally, and this is the biggest one, the world looks way too empty. Just looking at the trailers is enough for this to speak for itself. And that just goes about all my major problems. That's not even going into how non-existent the story seems to be, the constant frame rate issues in the trailers, how ass the leaked designs are, and just overall sloppiness. But this is just skepticism at the end of the day, because I haven't even played the game yet, and honestly, I hope that I'm wrong about all of this. So with all that being said, I will come back to the script in a week after I played the game, and I will explain whether or not the game is good or bad. Oh boy, this is gonna be a long video. Before I say anything about the game, let me just say that spoilers, I like this game. It's probably the best modern Pokemon game that I've played, like that's really saying much. It's just that Legends Arceus is an interesting case for me. So because of that, in this video, I'm going to try to delve into every single fundamental aspect of Legends Arceus that I can possibly think of to try to give an in-depth analysis on it, which isn't something I normally do in my reviews, so I have no idea how long this video is gonna be. And because of that, I apologize if what I say about the game becomes kinda jumbled and all over the place, because I've never done a video like this before. Usually when I do a review, I usually only delve into the aspects of the game that I want to talk about. But with Legends Arceus, I want to try to talk about everything that I can, because I have a lot to say about the game. So sit back, relax, and grab a snack, because we're going to be going on a journey to the world of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, before I talk about the game itself, I want to talk about something that really did this game a disservice, and that was the marketing. Pokemon Company did a really fucking shitty job with marketing this game, because the trailers made Legends Arceus look awful. It made the gameplay look incredibly shallow, it made the base game only 2 seconds long by showing the same 5 clips over and over, and it made the graphics and frame rate look exactly how it is in the final product. But I'll get to that in a second. Legit, I've seen some Wii U ads that better advertise their product and explain what it is better than the Legends Arceus direct and ads, and that's saying a lot right there. Alright, with that little tangent out of the way, let's start bullying Legends Arceus. The game graphically looks like ass. I don't think anybody can really deny that. The models of the characters, Pokemon, and even some of the trees are janky and even a little pixelated, with the textures of the environments being laughably bad. The lighting isn't really doing the game any favors either. At best, it's passable. The pop-in is fucking gross and can sometimes make traversing the area and trying to find the Pokemon difficult, to which in a game that's all about exploring is really bad. The frame rate isn't as bad as I thought it would be. The game runs pretty decently on Switch, all things considered, or at least things in the foreground. The frame rate for the Pokemon in the background is absolutely putrid, to say the least. This is a $60 AAA game released in 2022, not a $40 Wii game released in 2009. Now, before you all comment this on this video, yes, I'm aware that Game Freak doesn't have much experience on working for home consoles, and that any game that they're gonna make for home consoles is going to take a hit because of that fact. And to that I say, just don't have Game Freak develop the games. They got another studio to work on the Gen 4 remakes. Surely they could have got someone to have worked on Legends Arceus, because what studio in their right mind would actually pass up working on an entry in the biggest media franchise ever? Anyway, underwhelming technicalities aside, what truly matters is if a game is fun, right? Who the fuck actually cares about graphics? As long as the game is fun, that's all that matters, right? So, is Legends Arceus fun? Yeah. This is the first Pokemon game that I played in years that actually felt like there was some legitimate passion being put into it. I mentioned in my Let's Go review that even though Sword and Shield was hated by Pokemon fans and how one to develop an amazing concept like the Wild Area was, that I thought the game was fine. And it is fine. I don't think Sword and Shield is a bad game, but it and any Pokemon game after the DS era all felt soulless. It doesn't feel like they were trying any more experimental stuff with either its scope or its gameplay, and any experiments they did try were pretty retarded and hardly impacted gameplay at all. I dare you to tell me how in the name of Jesus, Mega Evolutions and Gigantamax impacted the gameplay at all. I could only really think of one example, and that's not even in the mainline game. It's in Pokémon Tournament, and that game is ass. But now with Legends Arceus, it feels like Game Freak is actually starting to enjoy making Pokemon games, and are not begrudgingly doing it because the Pokemon Company is telling them to. And nothing reflects this more than how refreshingly fresh the gameplay is. Traversing the area in real time is an ingenious concept, and you have a variety of different ways of doing so, albeit with an auto run, dodge rolling everywhere, or by using support Pokemon. More on them later. And it's not just that. Remember at the beginning of the video when I said that Game Freak didn't look incredibly competent on how to blend action and turn-based RPG elements together? Yeah, well, I would like to retract that statement because the combat here is pretty damn good. If you level up your Pokemon enough, they'll get the ability to master their moves, and you can do one of two styles. Strong style gives the move you do about 10 to 15% more damage, but may cause you to lose a turn, and Agile style does the opposite, where it gives the move you do 10 to 15% less damage, but can give you the added bonus of getting an additional turn. This adds tons of layers of depth and strategy to fights, whether it be with trainers or wild Pokemon. You can try to do a super effective strong style move first to get a certain Pokemon out as soon as possible, or you can do an Agile style move first, get the repeated turn, and then hit it with a normal attack so your opponent won't get a repeated turn of their own. And because of this, not only are the battles much more strategic than in the older titles, but they're also a lot faster, and feels like the game never pauses for anything. It just keeps throwing more and more fun at you, and that's just for the fights. The planning your approach to catching the Pokemon is plentiful and offers tons of variety and strategy. You can either sneak up to it and throw Pokeballs at it, hoping for it to be a quick capture. You can throw items at the little ball to stun it and then throw the Pokeball, and if all else fails, then you can fight it. But if you do plan on fighting wild Pokemon, you must be wary, because apart from its action RPG and semi-open world approach, one of Legends Arceus' main innovations is that for the first time in a Pokemon game since fucking Black and White, this game has difficulty. Pokemon in this game can and will kick your ass. I shit you not. I can't even begin to imagine how many times I got my ass handed to me by a goddamn fucking Staravia trying to catch the fucking thing. Even with the XP share, moves even at standard or even agile style hit a million times harder than they ever had in the past fucking decade. Granted, some of the games the difficulty can be the result of complete bullshit. I'll get to that later, but it's refreshing to have a Pokemon game that serves an actual challenge to its players and doesn't hold their fucking hand like they're 3 years old, except for the egregious 10-hour long tutorial. But would it really be a Pokemon game without one of those? But if the battles are too much of a challenge for you, you have options that ease the pain of getting your ass handed to you by a level 6 Weasel. For instance, in Jubilife City, which is the game's main hub world, there are tons of different shops who sell a multitude of different items at your disposal. You have a general shop which sells all the Poke gear you would expect, from Pokeballs to potions. You got a clothing store, and you also have an illegal Mexican cartel who sells XP candies. And the town doesn't just have an abundance of shops, it also has an abundance of side missions. And they vary from, that's it, that was too easy, to, I'm going to give you this Weasel and you're gonna like it, you little fucking cunt. Like, whenever I got bored aimlessly wandering around, I would just go back to the town to see what missions I had to do, because it could have been a really fun minigame or an incredibly tedious fetch quest. You never know what you're gonna get. But back on the topic of a challenge, nothing better exemplifies the game's different difficulty more than the introduction of alpha Pokemon, and their raw strength and defense are truly something to be horrified of, especially if they spot you. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Pokemon can finally kick the shit out of you. I know somebody got turned on by that. Not only does that spice up the gameplay by not only being a lot harder than what we're accustomed to, and that forces players to think about their approach to catching Pokemon, but that also adds realism to the Pokemon themselves. That's probably one of the things I absolutely adore about Legends Arceus, the AI of the Pokemon. Nearly each and every Pokemon you will come across has their own distinct behaviors and quirks that are not only unique to the in-game characteristics themselves, but are also comparable to that of the real-life counterparts. Of course, Dollies are really skittish and Weasels attack you, because that's exactly what Pigeons and Weasels do respectively. Not only that, but there were instances where Pokemon would walk up to me practically begging for me to catch them, making every interaction with any Pokemon feel different, and that is what makes this world feel alive, which is something this franchise desperately needed. No one else makes this world feel alive. That's kind of a small yet huge detail. How much of the day and night cycle from Gen 2 has been expanded upon. Catching Pokemon in real time adds a splendid amount of depth and life to both the gameplay and the setting of the game, as nearly every Pokemon you would normally find during the day are gone, and in their place are mainly ghost and poison type Pokemon. Does that make catching Pokemon at night more repetitive and predictable? Does that make catching Pokemon at night more repetitive and predictable, as there are less Pokemon to work with given that restriction? Yes, but that's okay, because it's still really cool to just observe the Pokemon and their little behavior quirks as they differ from the same-type Pokemon. But you want to know my favorite thing about Legends Arceus? It isn't the gameplay, it isn't the difficulty, it isn't the AI, and it's not the side missions, but it's the music. The music is absolutely incredible, and it stimulates the ever-living hell out of my brain. You know what, I'll just do you a favor and have you listen to the music a bit yourself. Okay, with the majority of the positives out of the way, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, the negatives.
No, it's gotta be a mistake. I gotta be hearing things. I'm gonna just go ahead and eat my customary 3-pound watermelon and drink my traditional pitcher of sangria both at the same time, while I confirm how wrong I was about this ridiculous misunderstanding.
Remember at the beginning when I listed all my then problems with Legends Arceus and how the world looks completely empty? Yeah, the maps are completely barren, but good lord, there's hardly anything here. There are no interesting locations at all on the map. Sure, once in a blue moon you'll come across a cave, or some ancient ruin, or a spot that are inhabited by a certain Pokemon species, but most of the time, I'm just walking through these empty ass maps that all blend in with each other, apart from the fucking snowy looking one, looking for Pokemon. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you a question. Do you like Drifloons, Geodudes, Bidoofs, Apoms, and Gravelers? Well, you fucking better, because you're gonna see a lot of them. The variety of Pokemon here are very few and far between. Now, I understand that we're mostly gonna get Pokemon from Gen 4 with other Pokemon from different gens being sprinkled in here and there, as this is a Gen 4 prequel, I think, but they could have easily bypassed that fact considering that you get anything but a Gen 4 Pokemon as your starter. Like, out of nearly 900 Pokemon across the entire series, there are only about 250 Pokemon in the game. That may sound like a lot, but it really isn't considering how little Pokemon are in each area and how many Pokemon are shared between different areas. Like, for some reason Apom can be found in the Obsidian something place and in the Snowy map. Now, I'm not the against idea of certain Pokemon being found in different parts of the world, as once again, it adds realism to this game's universe and setting, but in this case, it just feels like a way to fill each map with more Pokemon without actually needing to add more than the required quota of 250 Pokemon for the game, because charging more for less is Pokemon Company's motto. Now, I'm not saying the developers need to add the entire fucking national dex, because I'm pretty sure every Game Freak employee has night sweats both from the high demands from Pokemon Company and the murderous insanity of the Pokemon fanbase. But Legends Arceus has half the Pokemon than the original Diamond and Pearl game, which came out on the fucking DS in 2007. Again, I'm not shitting on the actual Game Freak Freak developers, because I know for a fact they all did their damnedest to make Legends Arceus the best game it can possibly be. But I just wish your Pokemon company gave the developers more time to flesh everything out, because this game came out only 2 years after Sword and Shield. So either Game Freak was either working on this game side by side with Sword and Shield, or they just started to work on this game immediately after Sword and Shield, and that the developers at Game Freak just saw their families again for the first time in half a decade. And yes, I am fully aware that the more you up your rank, the more Pokemon will show up, but not really a lot of them come. Legit, if I stay in one specific area, I should be able to catch every single Pokemon in there in about an hour and a half. That's pretty short when you think about it. Now you might say, but what about the space-time distortions? Well, yes, you can catch Pokemon that you don't have access to in a specific area there, but again, they're very few and far between. For every Vaporeon that I caught, I saw about fucking 20 Scythers, not to mention the fact that the space-time distortions themselves don't stick around for long. At the longest, they're there for about 5 minutes, and because of that, I usually don't even bother trying to catch Pokemon. I just go hunting for materials I need. Oh, that reminds me, throughout the game, you get support Pokemon that will help you traverse the map a lot easier, and they will help you access areas that you couldn't go to before, which I think is an excellent idea to the game. Not only does it spice up exploration and gives you a way more fun way to just fucking screw around the place, but it gives you access to hidden secrets that you couldn't have found otherwise. I'll summarize each and every one of them right now. Stanley and Sneasel are great, Burley is also great, but Lightning can be kinda awkward at times, Basculegion is fine, but trying to catch Pokemon on it is abysmal, and Ursaluna is terrible, both from a gameplay and design standpoint. It's so damn useless apart from like one mission, and its design is laughably stupid. Remember when I said that the game has a lot of bullshit moments? Yeah, now it's time to talk about that. This game's RNG is total fucking ass. In case you don't know what RNG is, it's essentially a system put in place that makes some aspects of a game completely random. Examples of this in Pokemon are critical hits, whether or not a Pokemon will stay inside the Pokeball, or if an enemy is going to one-shot you with a strong style move or not. And for the most part, Legends Arceus RNG is completely fucking broken. For example, one of the drawbacks of doing a strong style move is that while your attack does more damage, your opponent would have a chance to get 2 turns in a row, as I previously stated. But there were times where I did a standard attack or even an agile style move, and my opponent got 2 or even 3 turns in a row. Like, what the fuck? There were countless moments where I was in a foursome fight, and I had to restart it because they kept getting multiple turns in at once, beating my team senseless. Essentially, the difference in whether you win in trainer battles or get fucking gangbanged is up to total luck. Hell, I can prove to you how bullshit the RNG is right fucking now. Last night in his Space Time Rift, trying to catch his Porygon 2, and this dickhead Luxio, while doing no agile style attacks to speak of, gets 2 fucking turns in a row. What the fuck? And that's just the battles. That's without even mentioning how a Pokemon can spawn right in front of you with no indication or warning whatsoever, or whether or not a Pokemon stays in the fucking ball whenever you want to do a quick capture. Whether or not the Pokemon stays in the ball, you're completely at the mercy of the RNG system. Sometimes I can be able to catch an alpha Pokemon with no issue at all, and other times I'm struggling to catch a fucking level 26 Eevee in an Ultra Ball. Something tells me that from when this game was first announced early last year up to its release, that the game was hardly tested by real people, but instead by yes men hired by Pokemon Company to have this game meet its deadline. And that really sucks because yes, like I said before, the gameplay is very solid and fun, but the broken RNG can sometimes sour the whole experience. Now, with all of that out of the way, it's finally time to talk about the biggest problem with Legends Arceus, the campaign. The campaign in Legends Arceus is the most boring, repetitive, uninspired, and nothing campaigns I have ever played in a video game. I have never felt this empty playing the story in a video game since Pokémon Tournament. That's the second time I brought up Pokémon Tournament, and the second time you thought about that game since 2015. Don't even bullshit me. There's so much wrong with the story that I can be here for ages. I could talk about how repetitive all the story missions are. Go to this area, fight this boss, go to another area, fight this boss, go to yet another area, fight this boss. I could also talk about how embarrassingly easy all the bosses are, with dying not even mattering due to you being able to resume almost exactly where you were in the fight with no consequences. I could talk about how a game titled Pokemon Legends Arceus, the character whose name is in the fucking title, is hardly in the goddamn game at all, and when Arceus finally does show up, it's at the very end when you already 100% completed the damn game. I could talk about that if it wasn't for the fucking unbearable amount of unskippable cutscenes and dialogue boxes, that the story would only be about 3 hours hours long at the most. I could talk about how fucking stupid the plot actually is, with them just reusing the exact same story as Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Your Mom's Ass Cheek, but void of any charm and dramatic weight. But you know what? Who the hell even cares? Everyone who plays this game hates the fucking story. It's a Pokemon game. You already knew the campaign was gonna suck balls even if the gameplay was good. And what truly sucks about the story is that out of all the problems this game has, the main campaign is what brings down the experience for me. I can forget how unfair and packed to the brim with bullshit the RNG system is. I can look past how underwhelming the game is from a technical standpoint, with it looking and sometimes running like a PS2 game. And yes, I can live with how empty and void of Pokemon the maps are given the 2-year time span between Sword and Shield and Legends Arceus. But the story? I can't. If the story wasn't so boring and uninspired, the game would honestly be a lot more fun. I really don't want to slog through the hour-long tutorial session to dive into the meat of the game, only to be interrupted by another hour of text boxes with characters saying nothing. I was about to delete the file I have now and start a new one because, once again, the gameplay is really fun. But I don't know, man. I don't want to play through the story again. I'm just mashing the A button between cutscenes to get to the part where I get to play the game again, and not look at this dickhead make fucking DreamWorks face, because that's one of the 2 facial expressions this character model can make with the engine the developers were given. And that is Pokemon Legends Arceus. I know it just seemed like I was shitting all over this game, and I was, but don't get me wrong, I still really like it. It's not a masterpiece by any means, due to it taking a step back every time I took a step forward, but this is definitely better than any Pokemon related piece of media released after 2012, so clearly we're going in the right direction. With the innovations Legends Arceus made to what was basically a fucking creatively stagnant franchise, I can say that for the first time in 11 fucking years, I'm actually excited to see what the future of Pokemon holds. I can't tell if it'll be good or bad because I wouldn't trust Pokemon Company with my life, but if the concept of Legends Arceus were polished and evolved, and if the game was given more time in the oven for the game mechanics to actually be good, then the Pokemon franchise can truly become great again. Or at the very least, they should keep the ability to fucking jump off a cliff.